Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. So, before we review the first half of Act 4 of the Crucible, I just wanted to tell you guys that on Friday, before I posted your assignment for Friday, I came up with an idea, and my friend helped me test it out. I figured out that I can actually stream movies using Zoom. And so I thought, since we're almost done with the Crucible, I thought it would be really fun if we had like a Crucible movie night over Zoom for anybody that wants to attend. So I put a survey on Google Classroom on Friday. So if you haven't filled it out yet, would you please do that for me? It's just asking if you would be interested in the Zoom movie like optional class thing, or not, and what times work for you. If we do end up doing it, it's going to be tomorrow evening, or early afternoon, depending on when you guys want to do it. And I will let you know in my video for tomorrow if we're going to have that Zoom night or not, and what time it'll happen. And then I'll post the link on tomorrow's assignment. So just so you guys know, if we do have the movie night, it will be tomorrow. But please make sure you fill out that movie survey. It's under Friday's e-learning day on Google Classroom. Okay, so with that being said, I'm kind of super excited about the idea. I hope you guys want to do it because I think it'd be really fun. All right, so let's review Act 4 of the Crucible. So for Friday, over the weekend, you guys read the first half of Act 4. So this is where all of the action of the play is really coming together, right? And we're getting a snapshot of what's been happening and how awful things have really been. So I wanted to point out this interaction with Tituba and Sarah Good. Now remember, Tituba and Sarah Good were some of the very first people that were arrested and tried as witches. And their conversation here at the start of this scene, they're actually talking like to the devil. They're like, devil, take me home, whatever, whatever. So obviously they have confessed to witchcraft. Now, we don't actually know if they are witches or if the poor conditions of the prison has just kind of made them a little bit crazy, but it really kind of shows the chaotic state that's been happening in Salem during this time period. And then also, we learn that Paris has not been doing so hot himself. Okay, so Hathorne and Danforth, the two court judges, have been talking. And Hathorne mentions a concern. He says, I wonder if it be wise to let Mr. Paris so continually with the prisoners. I think sometimes the man has a mad look these days. I met him yesterday coming out of his house, and I bid him good morning, and he wept and went his way. I think it is not well the village sees him so unsteady. So we learned that Paris has really been off, that he hasn't quite been himself, and it kind of raises our suspicions a little bit, right? We also learn from these two men that Hale has been trying to get these people to confess to witchcraft, right? So Paris enters and he says, Reverend Hale has returned to bring Rebecca Nurse to God. Rebecca has not given me a word this 3 months since she came. Now she sits with him and her sister Martha Corey and 2 or 3 others, and he pleads with them, confess their crimes and save their lives. So Hale is trying to get all of these people basically to lie to save their lives, right? Which we find out later on that a lot of them are unwilling to do. They would rather die without sin, without having told a lie, than be saved having told a lie to be saved, right? So they're very devout in their religion. We also learn, and this is the big kicker, right? We learn that Abigail and Mercy Lewis have fled. They've run away, right? Paris tells the judges, my niece, sir, my niece, I believe she's vanished. He says, this be the 3rd night that she's been gone. She told me she would stay with Mercy Lewis. Mercy Lewis told her parents that she would stay with them. And they both fled, and they stole Paris's money, right? My daughter tell me how she heard them speaking of ships last week, and tonight I discover my strong box is broke into, and a strong box would have been like his safe, right? So now he's penniless, and we learn that these girls have ran away, and it's very suspicious, right? So because of all of this information that we learn, Danforth, Hale and Paris are asking Danforth to defer, to put off all of these hangings that are supposed to take place this day that Act 4 is occurring. And Danforth says this. He says, postponements now speak of floundering on my part. Reprieve or pardon must cast doubt upon the guilt of them that died till now. While I speak God's law, I will not crack its voice with whimpering. So he's basically like, if I don't have these people hang, like if I go back on my word, it's basically saying that everything that we've done in these courts is false, right? And that there's maybe some reason to question us, and I will not be questioned. My judgment is sound. I know what I'm doing. You guys are weak. So he's really just sticking to his guns here and kind of showing how harsh all of these punishments really are. Hale continues to tell us how bad things have gotten in Salem since all of these people have been arrested. Remember, there are hundreds of people that are now held in prison that have been tried. So Hale says there are orphans wandering from house to house, abandoned cattle bellow on the high roads, the stink of rotting crops hangs everywhere, and no man knows when the harlot's cry will end his life, right? So he's saying things are bad. They're really, really bad in town, which is why he's come and he's trying to convince these prisoners to lie to save their lives. He also mentions this rebellion, right? Because the people that are supposed to be hanged today are Proctor and Rebecca, right? They're really upstanding citizens of the town. People respect them. And Hale is really afraid that because there's already all of this unrest in Salem, that hanging these two respected people is going to start an uprising. It's going to start a rebellion. Hale mentioned that there had been a rebellion in Andover, which was another town that was nearby Salem, where the same thing almost started to happen, right? People were being tried as witches, but the people in the town, instead of feeding into the fear, they stood up against it and they said, no, these people aren't witches and you guys are ridiculous. And they shut it down. There was like a rebellion, right? So Danforth does ask Hale, why did you return? And Hale says this, and I think it's so interesting. It's all simple. I come to do the devil's work. Right? And he's not talking about witchcraft here. He's talking about convincing people to lie. I come to counsel Christians that they should be lie themselves. There is blood on my head. Can you not see the blood on my head? So Hale is really upset about everything that's been happening. What they decide to do, obviously, is to have Elizabeth talk to Proctor to see if they can get Proctor to lie and confess that he has been doing the devil's work, that he's been practicing witchcraft or whatever to save his life. So if they confess, then they don't hang, right? They just have to sign a testimony saying, yes, I was doing the devil's work. I was, doing witchcraft, whatever, and then they won't hang. So they want Proctor to confess because they think that if they can save Proctor, or if they can get Proctor to confess, then the townspeople will believe that, oh, okay, they actually were doing witchcraft because Proctor is such a respectable name. So we know that Proctor is set to hang this morning because Hale tells us, right? They bring in Elizabeth to try to convince Proctor to confess. So what they're doing here, they're just, kind of asking Elizabeth, will you please talk to your husband, try to get him to confess. Now we have a lot of things that are happening here. Elizabeth thinks that it's a sin to confess to save yourself. She thinks it's a sin to lie, right? So that's the first thing at play. Hale feels really guilty about the whole situation, which is why he's trying to get people to confess. Paris is scared, which is why he's trying to convince Elizabeth to talk to Proctor to get him to confess. And Danforth wants to avoid an uprising. So all of these characters that are involved in this scene and in this mess, they all have kind of ulterior motives in getting Proctor to confess. Elizabeth is the only one who really values her husband's soul and doesn't want him to lie. But she consents to speak with him. She never promises that she's going to get him to confess, but she says, I will at least talk to him. And that's where we left off for the reading. So you guys are going to find out in the last half of Act 4 how this whole thing plays out. So for today, you guys do need to finish reading the play. Finish filling out the study guide. Your study guide is due before 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then you guys have your test tomorrow. So make sure that you're looking over all of your study guides, okay? And you also want to review the notes that we went through before we started reading the Crucible. Did we do a hyperdoc? I don't remember what we did. It was so long ago. Okay, but we did some sort of introductory. Oh no, we just did notes. Okay, so look back through the introductory notes. Those will be helpful. Look back through your study guides. Those will all help you with the test tomorrow. The test is going to be short answer like we've had on the quizzes, but there'll also be some multiple choice and then some matching as well. And then don't forget to fill out that movie night survey, and I will let you know in my video for tomorrow what time we're doing the movie night or if we're doing it at all. Up to you guys. Have a great day. Get outside, do something that lights your soul on fire, and connect with other people. And hopefully I will see a lot of you tomorrow for movie night. Talk to you later. Bye.